Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday evening. It is 9 o'clock. Time for a Tuesday night blethering live stream. But first, as always, a little music. Enjoy.
We are all the heirs to Scotland, as a nation proudly stand. We will march beneath her banners to protect our ancient land. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let a flag mean freedom and not a battle drum. To the world we bid a welcome in 1,000 different ways. We will toast to long lost friendships as we build our better days. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum. We are all the heroes of Scotland. We're a nation hand in hand. We will march beneath her banners to protect our ancient land. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum.
Good evening, folks. I hope you're all well. Seemed to be a bit of a lag right at the start of the live stream. Let's hope that clears itself up. Most annoying, of course. But nothing I can do about that. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed your weekend, regardless of what you were engaged in. Depending on the weather, I suppose. I spent some of the weekend outside at the back of the house, reading, which was rather nice. Also went and visited my good lady Laura and my daughter Lorraine. So that was good. There's definitely a bit of a lag between the number it says is present and the number I can see as present. Good evening, Steve. Yep, there's definitely a lag. It's a duck. Good evening. It's a duck. I did. Yep. We're getting lots of lag here. Yeah. Lots of lag. Try again here with Steve. Hey, finally. Good evening, Steve. Good evening, Packer. John, was it? John? Skywalker. Good evening. Definitely got a lag. Well, lucky you, that's what I say. A fortnight of full-on sunshine forecast down where I live, John, says Rory. Good for you. That's what I like to hear. Anglo. Good evening, Anglo. Anyway, I spent time at the back of the house. Good evening, October. Why did that not go up? Oh, there it is. Yeah, fine. Treble M, good evening. I've got, where did that go? There it is up there. How'd you get up there, Streaky? Good evening, Streaky. Anyway, I've got a banner that I'm looking for some input onto this banner. I was thinking of putting this banner on an A2 or an A1 car and get it heat sealed and put outside on the gates of what is called the Mid-Kirk, right in the heart of the town. So I was thinking of having this printed up. Tell me what you think. God made man, which equals XY chromosomes. God made woman equals XX chromosomes. And SMP improvements on God's work equal, well, nonsense, of course. This has been said before, but I mean, you think how long I've been running the green screen and it hasn't caused any problems, but I'll take it off, see what happens. There we go. Nope. Right. No green screen. Okay. So what do you think of the idea of the banner then? Well, I think they do. There it is. It's back. I was thinking don't they arrest people for that kind of stuff these days, John? They do indeed. However, I was thinking if you did this, oh, Sensible. What are you saying there, sir? Sensible. John Davidson. Have you borrowed Zelensky's green screen? He needs that to pretend he's in Ukraine. Absolutely. He's anywhere but Ukraine, eh? Something far wrong, eh? So, what do you think, folks? Do you think this can be improved upon? This idea, if this was done on a poster, and I attached that to the church in the centre of the town, because I am absolutely at my wit's end. Good evening, sister. As to the silence of the church on this matter. So someday, October has already reminded me that if I do this, I'm likely to get arrested. So I really am up to my neck in the church and its silence. There's nothing is there anything offensive about that, do you think? SMV made improvement on God's work. Apart from the advice about getting arrested, has anyone got any particular thoughts on how this might be improved? No, it did. I don't know if that is talking to me. I don't know if you're talking to me, Sensible. That's what I was thinking. Something like along those lines. That's what I was thinking on. I think I'm going to be quiet, says Treble M. No comment then, is a general response. I'm not convinced it's worth a potential stress to you, John, says October. Well, thanks for that consideration, October. Appreciate that. The thing is, if I did that on a Saturday night, late on in the night, they could only keep me in until Monday and then take me to the sheriff court. Oh, that would be a night worth having. Something has to be done to shake the people up. I'm still thinking of something like that wording for a flyer. Something like that. Something short, something obvious, and something irrefutable. I wondered if it would sit well with any of them if it was posted on a church or a couple of churches on the date of when Martin Luther stuck his notice on a cathedral about indulgences. Said some. And the Lord said, "Let there be light." And Mrs. God said, "Oi, you, have you seen the electric bill recently?" So I don't think there's much support here, John, for this idea. Well, certainly not to place it on the church doors. Well, I'm keeping the party going, of course. If you want to keep the party going, is it worth it at this stage? Well, thanks, Doc. I appreciate the input, appreciate the sentiment. It might be wiser, I suppose, confine it to flyers, handouts. I think that's the thing. Flyers, perhaps, rather than an A1 poster, which is what I had in mind. But I take your point, both October and the duck. But I'm sure you all feel much the same as me about the silence. And I already know it's worthless to try and do it through official channels. That will get me nowhere. Triple M. John, would you be able to promote the party at, say, pensioners' meeting points? The trouble is, Treble M, you see, there are no real pensioner meeting points in this town. And the entire town itself, and I'm sure this must echo right across the UK and elsewhere, the town has never really recovered from the lockups. Every day the town is pretty well empty. But there is no natural place where pensioners can go, which is partly what I was talking about the other night about what do you do in this town if you get good weather and you live in a high flat or a tenement flat? There's really no place to go. There are benches here and there. You have them inside a mall, but that defeats the purpose of fresh air and sunshine. Very good, Streaky. There is, it's called a cemetery, John. I could put them on the cemetery gates. Oh, I could put them on the cemetery gates, couldn't I? Just up the street. I don't know. I just feel as though the party needs to strike out on this issue with something simple like that banner there. And something simple on the reverse side. That's what I'm telling you, Treble M. There is no such thing as pensioners' luncheon clubs. There's nothing. There is nothing. In this town. Nor the adjoining towns either, by the way. There's just nothing. You sound like you might be a bit under the weather, John. Are you okay? Says Doc. As far as I know, I'm okay. I'm sounding a bit nasal, of course, because I am a bit nasal. Well, that's good, Rory. I sometimes think my local pub is a pensioner meeting point. Well, that's good if it is. There are one or two pubs where pensioners and older people go. Yeah, I could walk in there with flyers. But there isn't any kind of institutional type place like Treble M's imagining. And I know these things do exist, but not here. Oops, Streaky's suggesting I do tour Weatherspoons in the daytime, John. Plenty of mature chaps and chapesses there. There are certain pubs that you're correct. You would get older people in there. It would be a way to give out flyers, of course. From a walking point of view, the three pubs I'm thinking on are fairly close together. Well, it's not something that I know I've ever suffered from. I think it's congestion. I think it's age catching up with the cigarettes, to be honest. Treble M saying, you may have a slight cold. It's also the start of the allergy season. Hay fever. Yeah, my son suffers from that, of course. I've never regarded myself having that. Skywalker, post-traumatic strim disorder, possibly streakers, very possibly. There's Jemima, Puddle Duck. Good evening. I think you're right, Parker. I think that's what it looks like. So you're all convinced I shouldn't do the big poster on the pillars of the mid-cap in the centre of the town then. it's a wonderful target. I know you're trying to help, and I know you're being protective. Sensim's agreeing with you. Well, it'd certainly be slightly less provocative. Just, I suppose I could design a two-sided flyer, let you have a look at it and see if there's any improvements can be made to it. This is one that, just begs supporting, because most people do support this idea, even if they don't use the word God. So I think it's unlikely to meet any public resistance, but it might be a useful hook to get people interested in the party itself. That's part of my thinking. The idea of the poster was to try and push the local clergy into some kind of response to the poster. It would be interesting to see how they would get, or they could object. That was my thinking on it. But anyway, I'll take that off the ideas list then. The idea of an A1 poster on the front of the churches. And consider how many other pubs I could get people in during the day. I suppose there's 4 really, all around in the same area, which would be easy enough to do. And then give the rest out on the street I suppose I could do it that way. But those pubs I'm thinking on, the Horseshoe, Black Cat, Hole in the Wall, and the Westbourne Bar, will all definitely have older people in them during the middle of the day period, without a doubt. Okie doke, Steve. Don't worry about it. That's what I'll do. I'll do it that way. I'll work out if anybody has got any ideas what might go on the other side of it. Street. John, just have a poster of the Austrian painter saluting and with the pensioners party name raw underneath. I guarantee it will get people talking. I could actually go one better than that, Streaky. I could take a photograph of me and graft it onto a photograph of the Austrian painter. And that would certainly get people talking. There's Ian. Good evening, Ian. Yeah, Skywalker, the Austrian painter again. So, yeah, I'll think about that. Believe it or not, during the election last year, it's something I didn't do, believe it or not. I didn't go in any of the pubs. 29th. 29th of what? May? No. Would I have any plans on it? No. I don't want to sound like an old moaning hen, but money really is tight, folks. I mean, it is. You really want me to do that, don't you, Streaky? Could do it for a laugh, but oh, there's toffee. So it is. It is toffee. Slightly late, one of my dogs just encountered a frog on our walk and ran away. A little wimp. Embarrassing. I just plays. He was only playing safe there, Toffee. That's all he was doing. He was playing safe. Just realised I was 10 minutes behind the chart. Boomer. Here's a wee short video, and I really hope nobody's seen it. As always, because it's a short, I'll let it play a couple of times. Watch this, folks.
Been the victim of a mugging, except that he put up his dukes and fought off the masked miscreant. It happened in 2020 in Wales. The senior even seemed to gesture, "Bring it on." But the would-be crook didn't stick around for the knuckle sandwich he ordered. A 77-year-old man would have been the victim of a mugging. except that he put up his dukes and fought off the masked miscreant. It happened in 2020 in Wales. The senior even seemed to gesture, "Bring it on." But the would-be crook didn't stick around for the knuckle sandwich he ordered. A 77-year-old man would have been the victim of a mugging, except that he put up his dukes and fought off the masked miscreant. It happened in 2020 in Wales. The senior even seemed to gesture, "Bring it on." But the would-be crook didn't stick around for the knuckle sandwich he ordered. A 77-year-old man would have been the victim.
This is old. He was an ex-boxer, said Streaky. I'd not seen it before. Hadn't seen it before. Thought that. I'll give you a laugh. Somebody my age fighting back. Good for him. Oh, you know more about it. October. It's John Fury's dad. The mugger was in trouble. Well, it looks as though the man obviously has some boxing experience, the way he's standing and moving. Oh, you heard about it, Toffee? I hadn't seen it at all. I thought, gotta show the folks this one. Oh, I was joking. He looks as though the man looks as though he knows something about boxing, and the way he's standing and moving around, jabbing like that. The main thing is he stood his ground, even at this age. Well, this is the point. Trebly mugging a 77-year-old man or woman or anyone. Oh, there isn't anyone else, is there? How low can you go? Exactly. He certainly did, Toffee. He certainly did. That's why not that I'm out very often, but if I ever go out at night, I take my heavy cane with me. It's good. So I say, I had not seen it. Just came across it. Oh, gotta let the folks see that. Skywalker is saying, I saw a guy in France at a demonstration totally ladling the riot police, punching right through their shields. Wow. He definitely from Deacon. No, he was no lightweight, either of them. That's for sure. Well, I'm the only one. I hasn't seen it before. Exile Viking. Good evening, sir. So I've started reading a very interesting book. I was toying with reading some of it to you. And when you see, or when I read the difference of the prose, and compare it to today, No, that's for sure, Duck. Ruined expectations can turn the tables very quickly. Absolutely. See, you wouldn't be expecting anyone of that age to try and defend themselves. The old flat cap on as well. Absolutely. Oh, it was brilliant when I saw it. Anyway, I was also watching a very interesting documentary today, a historical documentary. And part of it, only part of this documentary, was condemning a particular regime for mass in mass forcible injections into the population. And I couldn't help think that this is not a new thing that happened recently. It's happened before on more than one occasion by more than one regime. Yeah. I thought you actually might be interested in this book, not just for the way it's written, but also the content. I'll do that on Thursday then. I'll read a little passage from it. I was reading it last night in bed, and I thought this passage here would be ideal to read aloud to yourself for many different reasons, I might add. I'd rather not say what the book is about. It's a non-fiction. It's a historical piece. I have it on loan from my friend in Glasgow. But it's just partly the way it's written and partly the content. And again, because it's in this country, you can, from the prose itself, you can tell just how far we've fallen. I'll recheck the section again and just make sure that there's nothing there that I need concern myself about. No doubt you'll have seen all of you have seen this one then. Again, I'll let it play a couple of times, but have a listen to this.
A little about yourself and what you can do, Chloe?
Of course. I'm the first personal assistant built by CyberLife. I take care of most everyday tasks like cooking, housework, or managing your appointments, for example.
And I understand you're the first android to have passed the Turing test. Could you tell us a little more about that?
I really didn't do much, I just spoke with a few humans to see if they could tell the difference between me and a real person. It was a really interesting experience.
Could you tell us a little about yourself and what you can do, Chloe?
Of course. I'm the first personal assistant built by CyberLife. I take care of most everyday tasks like cooking, housework, or managing your appointments, for example.
And I understand you're the first android to have passed the Turing test. Could you tell us a little more about that?
I really didn't do much, I just spoke with a few humans to see if they could tell the difference between me and a real person. It was a really interesting experience.
Could you tell us a little about yourself and what you can do, Chloe?
Of course. I'm the first personal assistant built by CyberLife. I take care of most everyday tasks like cooking, housework, or managing your appointments, for example.
And I understand you're the first android to have passed the Turing test. Could you tell us a little more about that?
I really didn't do much, I just spoke with a few humans to see if they could tell the difference between me and a real person. It was a really interesting experience.
Could you tell us a little about yourself and what you can do, Chloe?
Of course. I'm the first personal assistant built by CyberLife. I take care of most everyday tasks like cooking, housework, or managing your appointments, for example.
And I understand you're the first android to have passed the Turing test. Could you tell us a little more about that?
I really didn't do much, I just spoke with a few humans to see if they could tell the difference between me and a real person. It was a really interesting experience.
Could you
Why does she make breathing noises? You sure that's not me you hear? Anyway. You find that annoying as well? Someone's counting. That's 4 times. It says exile. Ice Age Celtic. She was hoarding all the cream cakes for the CCP. Good evening, Ice Age Celtic. Streaky, as long as she can climb the stairs from the kitchen to the bedroom, I would marry it. I'm glad you used the word it. Oh, her, not you, John, says Steve. I have no doubt, Excel, that is part of the package. You can provide sexual favors too. Yeah, well, that's another set of movies that I've tried to keep up with. Movies that have got robots in them. I tend to gravitate towards them. I like to see how they're presented to us, either in a favourable way or an unfavourable way. At the moment, I think unfavourable's coming out on top, to be honest. Anyway, if I were to put a link in the chat, who would jump on? I wonder. Who would jump on? There's a link in the chat. Now, don't everybody jump on, please. Get my logs ready. Well, I thought Exile might use the link. I get my earlogs sorted out. Yeah, would that mean you would need electric terminals in the house to keep the thing going? Or does it come? Bring them on. Good evening, Excel. Can we have a sound check, please?
Hey, John. Sound is perfect.
Sounds okay to me.
I don't know why I came out slightly American with, hey, John. I don't know what the hell happened.
Sometimes
it's a bit like the first time I had a voice chat with you 2 years ago, and I just said, hey, John. I don't know. That's bizarre. I'm very bizarre, as you know.
It must be the way some people respond when they meet me. I've heard the other accents, by the way. I don't know why this is.
Well, I just thought I'd come on for a little while. Just come on for a little while because I've been busy tidying up the spare room for the last 2 hours and getting nowhere because I have accumulated so much garbage over the last 5-6 years. And honestly, trying to go through what you want and what you don't want, it takes you a while. It's not. Layla thinks, oh, you can tidy the room in 1 hour. Yes, that's if you throw everything out, everything, regardless of needing or not. But I tell her I like to look at my things. Things I have here I've had since a child, and I want to keep them because they mean a lot to me. So she went away in a huff. So I'm glad I got peace to that.
The only other way you'll do that in an hour is if the room's already empty and you're getting in with a brush and a shovel.
Yeah, well, I figured. I just realized something. When I'm going to do a tidying up, I'd rather be myself. No one else can help. It's like too many cooks spoil the broth. It's better one person does the tidying up.
And here comes Streaky. Good evening, Streaky.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, that's fine. So what have you been up to?
Today I've been on a course in a work-related course. So I have to do it tomorrow, and Thursday will be like the test day. But I'm keeping quite busy. Actually, I got to get up at 6 in the morning, so I probably won't be on too long myself, John?
That's fine. Yeah, I got to get your sleep.
Yeah. I've been like really sensible, and this month I for the Woodlanders initiative, I had a target to save like 500 quid, So I thought to myself, stop drinking for me. So it's been a bit boring because I haven't been going out and stuff, but it's all right. It looks like by the end of the month I'll have the 500 saved, like, and hopefully you'll have the website out. And yeah. So I'm cool, mate. Everything's good with me. Thank you for asking. Anyway,
No problem.
um,
Can I just ask then? Is from what you're saying, does that mean that he's giving out more info? You're saying that you need to get this 500 together.
um, sorry, John. I'm having some issues with my sound. When he announced it a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
that's where I just thought, yeah, I'm interested in it, and I trust Woodlander, and yeah, so yeah, about 500 quid a month. That's saved by just not going out on a piss, Weatherspoons, or like finish work, having a drink and stuff, and and yeah, so um. Things are good, mate. John, I'm just gonna have a mess around with my audio if somebody else wouldn't mind speaking. It's just I can't hear anybody properly, and it's just everything's a bit messed
Okay.
up. If you don't mind, I'm just gonna
No,
pack
not
out
at
for a
all.
second.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Watch us, Steve. It's the first time I've heard your voice.
So, what do you think of this initiative then, Exile?
I think it's great. I've been listening to it on and off for the last couple of weeks since the Woodlander announced it. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Hopefully, it will spread around like wildfire.
Well, he did say last week on here that he's had over 700 inquiries.
Uh-huh.
And initially, he was talking about 100.
It must have gained hundreds more in that short time. But I think it says it's for itself. And many people are getting on board because it's what we really want, and it's a great idea. It really resonates with people. But I would hope one day that the thing becomes nationwide and we can collectivize into the thousands and thousands.
Well, I've got high confidence that that's probably the way he's already thought, but hasn't said, obviously, for good reasons. Because it's a kind of endeavor that lends itself to imagination
Mm-hmm.
and the possibilities if you expand it. It's all lying there. I'm certainly for it, but I'll hold back a little bit until I see some more of the finer details
Yeah.
about it, because in principle it's great. Treble M is asking, what's Woodlander's ideal briefly? Well, the idea, Treble M, is not particularly new. It's been around our circles for many years, but no one has done much about it. The idea is that if everybody chipped in some money to a fund, it would put us in a position of buying land. And once we were landowners, and we could then choose how that land was used or left fallow. Pardon you.
Sorry, pardon me. Didn't know you heard that. I was trying to be quiet.
I thought that was the storm of 1987 starting.
I was merely a babby at that time.
So the idea is then, Trevel, that this group can be expanded to anyone who wants to join it. It will go on buying land And according to the calculations he's using, in very short order, we could become, as a group, we could become rather a large landowner in the UK. And we could, as I say, use this land in whatever manner we see fit within the law. But the other thing that shouldn't be forgotten about all of this is he definitely agrees that we also need a political arm to go along with this. And we do, even if we never ever get national power, either in Scotland, England, Wales, or Northern Ireland. We still need a political presence. And I totally agree with that. They can run hand in hand. They are certainly not in any competition with each
Yeah.
other. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And he did carry on.
Sorry, John.
No,
When it came to Brexit, the Labour voters, there was 5 million Labour voters that wanted to leave Brexit, that wanted to leave Europe. 5 million Labour voters, and so a large movement, and it can also give ideas to other movements. It's positive. So I'm definitely in with it. Like,
yeah. Well, Treble M, to answer your secondary question, who would be on the ownership of the land? That is part of the details that's still to be unfolded.
Well, all I know about it is it will be collectivized. Everybody will own a share of it.
Well, there's two sides to this, Treble M. Oh, there's Rory. Come in. I'll just bring him on. Good evening, Rory. Can we have a chat?
Evening, my lord.
Evening, gentlemen. Well, thank you, sir, for that last comment.
Okay.
Evening, Rory.
I call you Lord because you sound very aristocratic, and it just sticks in my head, you looking like a lord. So, evening, your lordship.
Well, I'm not sure I quite look like one, but there we go. No, just on to you were talking about the woodlander. I thought I'd put in my tuppence worth.
Carry on.
Yes, he's forming a membership club. Together with a limited company, and those members of that club will be shareholders in this company and raising money to buy land, be it, £50 a week, £10 a week, or, a one-off sort of 500 or maybe even £1,000 payment. But his idea is, he's not saying this is going to happen immediately. This could take a couple of years. But he's definitely thinking of doing it in almost every county in England, and obviously a little bit in Scotland and Wales. And we'll see that how that turns out. But the idea is, if you buy into this, then you don't just have to be tied to the local land in your nearby. If you wanted to go camping down in Cornwall, for instance, or Yorkshire, then that would be available as well.
Absolutely. And there's two ways you could go about this, really. And it depends on how successful the initial launch would be. You could, if such a thing exists, acquire a suitable map that lays out the land in the UK in such a way that it might highlight land that can never be bought, such as the royal land and what have you. But I see there's two possibilities here. You either buy separate pieces of land, or you try and buy land right next to each other so that collectively you're covering a greater area than you would if it was kept separate. That makes sense.
Well, yes, I think you're right there, John. But it would be difficult. You know, you couldn't buy like a whole estate, like the Duke of Bedford's estate, for instance, because he's not going to sell it.
No.
But you could buy smaller lots of land in different places, and be it arable or woodland, you know, and that would be achievable.
Yeah. Or you could get lawyers or estate people, whoever deals with this kind of thing, all over the UK, to let you know whenever a farm comes up for sale.
Oh, yes, indeed. I mean, you can look that up pretty easily anyway on the interweb, can't you?
Well, I haven't done it, but I assume you can. So my idea is, what I'm thinking is that if you were, you know, if this group, the initiative, were able to buy a completed farm, say a farm that's already working, but for whatever reason the person wants to give up on it, you could buy a farm with livestock and everything and equipment and what have you that was already in play, because I'm sure there are people amongst all of us that would dearly love to take that on as a going concern, or try and make it a going concern, that at least we would have the produce, etc., from the farm. So there's all sorts of possibilities, Trevor and everyone else. It depends on your imagination. I mean, one of the easiest things that could be done, I suppose, with a reasonable amount of land, depending again where it was, you could put caravans on it.
Well, that's exactly, John. I mean, that's another option that he's stated. That go camping there, bring a caravan down, get away for, I don't know, a week or so, you know, a long bank holiday weekend, and see what it's like, and meet other people, you know, of the same beliefs and interests as you.
Exactly. I was thinking that, you know, if the initiative bought the caravans, they could be permanent. So you would just need to get there. You know, like an early Butlins.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the rules with caravans. I think you can live on a caravan site for 11 months of the year legally. And for 1 month, you have to leave the caravan. But all this will be in the small print. So I'm not too gemmed up on land rights, etc.
No, exactly. I was going to mention the caravan thing as well. Yeah, I don't think you can't buy like a huge mobile phone or something. Mobile home.
But that's us.
A plot of land. Put it on a plot of land. You know, forever. I think you might need planning permission. But you know what? The other point is, I mean, if enough people do that, I think the local council will probably back down.
Well, again, you see, this was part of my counter proposal, is so long as we have a political presence in the party, there is always then the option in the future to say, right, we own X amount of land here in such and such an area. What's the nearest council that's got any kind of control over that land? And then target that council for election times and try and get our people on the council.
Maybe we can buy Stoke-on-Trent for about 20 grand. But the only thing is, it's not exactly picturesque, is it?
Well, at the start, you can buy it and then you can drive out all the undesirables. Send them all back to where they came from.
Oh, glory days.
All sorts of things. Well, this is again where I think the political element comes in, Trevor. She's talking about, would you need planning permission? This is where I keep saying, if you've got at least one person on a council that's got anything to do with the land in question that we bought, then that one councillor can be an influence and perhaps even a good help.
Yeah.
To have somebody on the inside on our side that we know is on our side. Better still if we controlled the council, but even one councillor would be better than none. And I think you're right, by the way. I think I've got a touch of hay fever or something. What's this about on board? Haven't any. Yeah, it's open to the imagination. Anything that you can imagine that you could use a piece of land for, well, the possibilities there. It
It would be
depends.
great. Yeah. Just even a place to escape to a few times a year where you're going to be meeting up with like-minded people. There could be a
Correct.
couple of hundred camping there. You could go a few times a year. You're meeting up with like-minded people, and you know how expensive it is to stay on campsites in Cornwall, especially. And yeah, it would be really cheap just for holidays, and this would be the start. Like,
Again, I think every step, it's like, well, it's not quite like the party, but every step this initiative takes that's positive, right? He's done some of the hard work already. He's got the membership, the private members party done. He's got the limited liability up and running. He needs to get the website up and running. The next thing is getting people to swap over the cash, however that's to be done. But I think as that goes forward, it will create its own confidence. And especially after the first buy of land, that will really give it some confidence, because then it becomes permanent. You can point to that piece of land and say, well, we bought that piece. We can buy another one.
You know, it's something interesting, John. I was sent an email about the price of woodland over the last 10 years, only last month. And I actually sent it to the woodland there. And it's actually one of the best investments in terms of performance, you know, over the last 10 years. It was like something like 17% gain per year I think, well, last year, I think. It goes down when there's less building, and it goes up when there's more building, because obviously there's timber. But there are apparently quite a lot of tax advantages in terms of inheritance tax and that sort of thing. I could send that to you if you like.
Well, not at this point, Roy.
Well, not right now, but yeah, shortly.
Obviously,
tomorrow, maybe.
What I see is, from a confidence point of view, it's like I've always tried to do myself. I try and not, as far as the party is concerned, bring any bad news. I only report things that I've managed to pull off that are good news for us. And it's likewise with this initiative. He announced it after he had done that hard work, which is the way I would have done it. And now he only has, well, only, it's a big only. He needs to get that website up and running. And once people are able to read the details and mull it all over, I don't think there should be any major obstacles at this point if he can answer these hard questions properly. And they are hard questions, such as who decides where to buy the land, who keeps the money, who's responsible for the cash, etc., etc., etc. Once these particular concerns are smoothed over, then it'll be easier then to get people to actually part with the money. Getting people to say one thing, but then getting them to actually do it is another thing. All I can say is, and I'm not getting at anybody when I say it, I wish I had got the response when I announced the party as he has got with this initiative. But I can understand why so many people have jumped on this, because it is something that's been around for a long, long time. This idea that we should buy our own land.
Well, he has mentioned that, John. He's saying it's very much ground up, and once he gets the members, then yeah, they will be able to have a say, you know, where the land is and where they want to buy it, and clearly, you know, because it's a limited company, is tied into a limited company. I mean, your investment is pretty safe. But no, I think he really wants like a grassroots up organization, from what I understand.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I get that also, because that's what we're all about, aren't we? We're all about collectivizing working class people into some kind of action that is positive to us. And there's various forms of that action. I see, and I just call it the initiative as a shorthand. I see this initiative as a long-term investment and plan that we can all dream about and help to make come into reality.
Well, that's very kind of you to refer to me as working class, John. Not many people do.
Well, you weren't born with wealth, were you, Rory?
Not at all. No.
Well, there you
Who
go.
who
And
who is born with wealth?
anyone who wishes to can culture their voice if they choose to, and they work at it.
I think my voice was cultured at public school, John.
Yeah, I think it was, and then the army.
Yeah.
But again, there used to be a man in this town who befriended me, believe it or not, simply because I wore a hat, and he wore one. So there was two of us in the town who wore hats, and he spoke very much like yourself, a very cultured voice, etc. Dressed very much like an officer in the army. You know, you're very stereotypical looking man with the small moustache and the hat, very well groomed, etc., etc. But he wasn't an officer. He was is it an NCO, you call him, a non-commissioned man. But simply because of his time in the army and obviously the people that he was mixing with, he learned to cultivate his voice and apply a little elocution to himself, and spoke incredibly well. You know, you would not have taken him for your typical Green Oakian man, that's for sure. But that can be done with anyone if they choose to. Oh, he's gone. Yes, fallen out of the street.
I dare say he'll be back.
I dare say.
He always comes. He always does come back.
Like MacArthur, I'll be back.
I'll be back. A Terminator.
I've been on this course, right? It's a work-related course for a few days, and I was told I'd be the only one on this course, and I'd be able to like leave early, etc. But turns out there's another person on this course, right? And he's he's a he's a Chinaman, right? But he's brown, and his name is Mohammed, right?
Slightly confusing.
Honest, I don't even think he's from like another continent. I think he's from another fucking planet, right? Anyway, so because of this guy who can, let's just say he hasn't mastered English.
Right.
I've had to like stay behind till this guy completes his work. Ah, and you know, but yeah, but I'm thinking to myself like this, and it's not a particularly it's not exactly a civil engineer's course. It's not exactly a rocket scientist course, like I'm
Yeah.
thinking, why do we need these people in the country to do these? What any of us could do, any British could do, and they just getting all these people in, and
Well, you know the simple
you
answer
would be,
to that.
hmm,
The simple answers to
oh yeah, the great replacement.
no to keep salaries down.
Oh
When
yeah,
was,
yeah, mate, yeah.
when was the
It's
last
all
time?
good for the GDP.
Yeah, right.
It's no
It's all
good
good
for
for
it's no
business.
good for the work.
It's not good
Yeah.
for the British people, but it's all good for businesses. They love mass migration because
Yeah,
it keeps the wages down. In fact, speaking of migrants, today I was waiting at the bus stop in front of a primary school and I saw a disgusting sight. Out of 100 children I counted, 64 were black and Pakistani, and the rest were white. And I just thought, unbelievable, because I remember that school when it was mostly all white children. Now it's all everything. It's a mixed bag mysteries now. It's just gone out of control because our parents are mass producing. It's disgusting. Anyway, ran over.
Well, again, from a political point of view, these matters can be dealt with without violence if they're handled properly. But I'd rather not go into the detail of
No. I know.
Yeah.
I would not be suggesting violence to begin with.
No, I know you're not.
That
I'm just making it clear for Mr. YouTube.
Oh, I know. For Susan's benefit, Susan listens to every stream, everything on YouTube, and she disapproves.
I don't think it's right that Sensom got to name YouTube Susan. I think that's very undemocratic. I think we should have a vote in that.
I know we're all for democracy after all. So yeah, I concur.
Right.
But did you see the government today? The government was surprised to find out that people would be taking advantage of the students being allowed to come over here and study and bring 4 family members. So after 3 or 4 years, the government today announced they were surprised and they're gonna stop all the dependence on the students, or try to stop the dependence on students coming over. And how is they treat us like we are fucking morons, How can 4 years later you're suddenly surprised to find out that people will be taking advantage of this situation? And I'm just sick of this false game, this big theatre for us all. It's going to go to Labour. Labour will win the next election by the looks of it.
I hope not. I hope not.
Oh, we all hope not, but by the looks of it, it's going to happen. And you'll have a party which is even more pro-immigration. And it's just, we're going down there and spiraling and all this chitty theatre.
Because several years ago, that prick Ed Miliband, he openly declared that if his government wins his party wins the next election, they're going to encourage migration. So right there and then, he shot his foot, and people turned off and said, "No, thank you. We'll just keep voting the Tories. Bad as they are, but better the devil we know. And you're too young, son. You've got no experience in politics." That was essentially what people were telling him. And then after the result, he resigned.
Again, it's sad to say that we don't have to political parties in this country, just like the US. We have a single party that masquerades. So there is no real difference.
Exactly.
And that's why we badly need the two parties that we have got, my own and John Lawrence's party, to make progress. Because if we can make progress with membership and getting votes, we can challenge that, not necessarily right away on a big level, but I go back to, and I use England because I've heard it said by others, you've got these things called parish councils that are usually short in members that we should be involved in. School boards, we should be involved there. And then local politics. Because we need a power base and we have none.
I know. Without a power base, it's just voices, just talk online and occasionally in the street with the civilians.
That's right. And it will continue to be that way until people who know about these two parties say, I need to do something. And as I've said many, many times, you can define activism in any way you like, but simply talking to people positively about our ideas is activism. Even if it's only a short conversation while you wait for a bus, that's still activism. Because activism doesn't necessarily come down to giving out flyers or putting them through doors. Because the way I look at the flyers, I mean, it's a kind of love-hate relationship I have with political flyers. Because I know from my own experience that when political flyers come through the letterbox, most of the time they go right in the bin, along with other junk mail or things that people consider to be junk.
I do that as well, John, especially when it's from the SNP or Labour and now the Scottish Tories. They all go in the bin, but especially SNP.
Well, you're just proving my point. I think you got a slightly better chance if you can catch people on the street, or like it has been said earlier with my own thinking, doing what the old Salvation Army used to do, go around the pubs, but go around them during the day when the older people are there, simply for company. As I say, I never did that when I was canvassing. I stuck to the housing. But for this sort of thing, what I was showing, I'll put it up just to remind people, this kind of simple but shocking banner can be put on a flyer, and I don't think you need much more to be added to it. Perhaps where it says SNP made improvement on God's work, you could have something else there. You could have a real insult there if you wanted to, you know. But I think the idea is simple enough, and people will agree with that. So it's not particularly controversial in our circles, and I don't think it will be with the general population either.
Yeah.
Would you agree, Rory, that that's not controversial? What's on that?
Well, I have to tell you, I'm not very fond of John Lawrence, John.
Okay, that's
and his
fine.
party. I remember him tweeting once that there's no such thing as an Indigenous Brit.
Did he really?
Absolutely. And I replied to his tweet, and I sent him my ancestry DNA results and said, "Oh, really? How do you explain this then?" Of course, he never replied to it, but I had a lot of comments supporting me, I have to say.
Well, I'll bet.
What a douche! What an absolute masturbator! You see, I won't say the W word, John. I'm cleaning up my language. Total masturbator head.
I'm trying to
Indeed.
do my best myself about language.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
I don't know if Toffee is in the chat because I can't see it just now. But when I was thinking of what to come out with there, I just could imagine Toffee in his accent saying the C word, an absolute,
Well, Skywalker suggesting perhaps for the flip side, no amnesty, no forgiveness.
Absolutely not.
And then you underneath that you could put, what we're referring to. I won't say it on here, but we know. Yeah, I mean that's another possibility. I'm just thinking about something simple, something that is irrefutable, and something that the general population will support, and they will support that because that's most people's view. Even if you get rid of the word God out of it, you get a man and you get a woman, and that's it.
I've been thinking, who's the fattest moderator in the chat? Steve Crayo sent some comment. One of them, please put your hands up.
What I like about your comment there, John,
Yeah.
God made man, is it's totally binary, isn't it?
Of course it is.
XY.
Yeah.
And
XY.
then you have all these people saying, "Oh, we're non-binary." But yes, you are, I'm afraid, and you can't change that.
Yeah.
However many hormones you take, or
It's wild. It's terrible. It's even the NHS are saying there's 18 different sexes
or genders or something.
Yeah. There is no such thing as gender, is it? Gender is for literature. With your words, that is gender. It was always sexes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So all this woke fucking nonsense. It's just a different world. It's like it's easy to say clown world and this, but it's the fucking world's turned upside down. It's mental. It's just got everything.
But
is the opposite.
But you know what? The thing with all this, as well as trans, I define a trans child very simple. It's like a vegan dog. You know who's making the life choices for them.
Yeah.
Especially 5 and 6 year olds.
I have to.
They don't have the mental capacity to know what they are.
I have to read out Senson's comment because he's absolutely spot on. Okay. Yes, but FFS, we have to be issue focused. I don't like him. I don't like her. I don't like them. It's just division that we do not need. Focus on the issues for Christ's sake. And I agree with him. You shouldn't be joining my party because you think I'm a great guy. You should be joining my party, A, to make it bigger, and B, to add something positive to our position. Because otherwise, nothing will happen. It's like the initiative. It's a grand idea. But if they don't get the money in, that's all that will remain is a grand idea. Same as the politics. No one should be saying, I'm not going to join John Lawrence or I'm not going to support John Lawrence's party because I don't happen to like him. That should be nothing to do with it. You should be looking at what is he promoting. Now, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I don't know what his policies are for the party. When I spoke to him last, which was way at the very beginning, and I spoke to him a few times privately on the phone, they hadn't really got to the point of thinking about policies. He was obviously, I'd given all his attention and focus was on getting through the commission to get it registered, same as myself. But they had the help of a lawyer at his end, he told me. But they have got it. Now, I wouldn't be put off by what he calls the party either. It's the policies that matter. And the way he was speaking to me, it was obvious that one of the major concerns around where he lives, which is on the east coast of England, was housing. And that's why I think he called it the party, the housing party of Britain or something. I'm not quite sure. But I don't know anything else because I haven't spoken to him since. By that point, he didn't really have any policies.
Yeah, John, didn't Andrew Brigden, the ex-Conservative MP, just join his party? You know, the one who was banned or chucked out of the Conservative Party for talking about the COVID vaccination.
He joined Lawrence Fox Reclaim Party.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I tend to keep, when I'm not on here, folks, I'm either focusing on my own party and how to promote it, or I'm relaxing, doing something totally different from this stuff. And I've never really gone and looked at what John Lawrence is doing and how successful he's being where he lives. It's common sense. Sensum. Sorry, common sense. Andrew Bridgen has joined Reclaim.
He would be better joining Patriotic Alternative. That's the last you'll hear of Andrew Bridgen.
Right. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know anything about
John Lawrence with Lawrence Fox.
I don't know anything about Reclaim. What I'm sticking to is rather basic than that. I'm saying I know me, and I know I'm not getting any secret payments from the government, nor am I doing this to help the government, right? I know where I come from. I know my roots. I trust the people who are in the chat that they are very similar to me, and I believe most of them are. And therefore, we have that commonality, and it seems to go through the channels. Sensum's the same. Scott's Armour, DJ, etc., etc. These other people that I hear about, I don't know them. I don't know where they come from. I don't know anything about the background, and I'm suspicious. But that's me. I get quite impatient when I hear people online talking about Farage. He's a complete and utter waste of time, that man. He should be ignored. And any of his schemes have come to nothing. He's always abandoned them. To me, he's just a gatekeeper. Talk's a good talk, but all that talk's always to promote him and nothing else. He doesn't do anything, as far as I'm concerned. And when he does, he cuts it short.
I don't think we would have had Brexit without Farage.
Perhaps not.
Though, obviously, we haven't had Brexit. I think he'll be a big shout in the next, if the Reform Party with Tice, if he gets together with Richard Tice, I think he's got a chance of them winning a lot of seats in the next election. But yeah, it's a shame he never followed through with Brexit, and it was a permanent thorn in the side. And I can understand what you mean, John. He's a bit of a gatekeeper, and you know his history anyway. He's a merchant banker.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you know, I'd rather have him in charge, in shout of the country, than any of the other filth. He seems less compromised than the others.
Well, again, we don't know. We
No,
don't know anything about these people. We only know what
you're
they
right,
tell
John.
us.
Yeah, you're right.
It's different. Let me put it this way to you. Everyone in the chat and every one of those lurkers who might be watching, if they wanted to, if they were thinking of joining my party, if they wanted to, they could come here and meet me personally and make up their own minds the kind of person I am. I can't imagine rolling up to wherever Farage lives, chapping on his door and him coming and having a conversation with me. I just can't imagine that. And I think that's the difference.
Well, you know, John, I have met Nigel Farage on a couple of occasions. The first one was in 2015 at a UKIP get-together. It was in Bath. And after he made his speech, my wife and daughter approached him, as did other people. You know, he actually would talk to people. And my wife turned around to him and said, well, who are you supporting for the next election in the USA? And he went, oh, Rand Paul. And my wife said, no, you should be supporting Donald Trump. And put some good arguments together for it. And gosh, who did he support 3 months later?
Well, I wouldn't trust him because he's definitely not. I don't think he's the man we're looking for. Not at all. I would not give any support to Farage. I want somebody who comes from the working class, who knows what it's like to be worried about bills, who knows what it's like to live an ordinary life.
Yeah, decades and decades ago, you'd have working class MPs, the likes of like Postman and etc. But that's a long time gone now. It's the elites are permanently in. And we have a uni party, Labour, Conservative, SDP. They're the same, and they'd all dance into the tune of the globalists, the bankers. So we won't be voting our way out of it, that's for sure. But maybe at the local level, we can have a bit of joy. Oh, there's Packer. Oh, yeah, Packer. All right, mate.
How you doing, Packer?
Oh, speaking. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Cool.
We seem to have lost Exiled. For whatever reason, I don't know.
Just to give my 2 penny if I don't like Farage either. He's a slimy git.
Yeah, all right, quickly, John, just going back to Farage and UKIP. I mean, at grassroots UKIP level, there were a lot of working class. I mean, Katie Fanning, for instance, she was on the NEC at one point.
Sure.
And tried to get her point through, but they didn't accept it.
You correct me if I'm wrong here. And please do correct me if I'm wrong. Did Farage not join UKIP after UKIP was well established?
Oh, a few years after. Yeah, he wasn't a founding member.
No, he wasn't a founding member.
Goldsmith, wasn't it?
Yeah, he floated in from where? And how come, and you tell me, Rory, I don't know, I'm speaking here in the dark. How come he floated in and then is suddenly the face of UKIP? How does that happen? How does one person like that just manipulate his way in and take over like that?
Well, I think like an awful lot of politicians, they work themselves up through the party. You know,
Did he really?
but he didn't take it over immediately. As far as
He
I'm
didn't do
aware.
it the same way as Kamala Harris did it, did he?
No, that's true. Anyway, over to Packer. We need to hear Packer say more.
I like Sensum's comment. Nigel Farage is a word that cannot be spoken here. I like that. And you're quite right, Sensum.
Like Packer says, with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, when you think how things are bad in this country, just look across America for the real fucking clown show. Kamala Harris and Biden. Kamala Harris, thick as shit. She is absolutely dumb as anything. And she just goes off on one. It's Sky News Australia often play Kamala Harris. And she got some low IQ, and there's Joe Biden, the biggest crime family, and and these are the people we're meant to be looking up to. And you know what else is all the MPs in the Houses of Parliament, and they all call themselves the Right Honourable. Jesus, that we're drowning in the hypocrisy of these bastards, you know.
Exactly.
But, sorry, carry on, John. Whatever.
No, you're all right. You just
Well, here we go. Last comment regarding Nigel Farage. Clearly, he never managed to get elected in the UK Parliament. Obviously, he did extremely well in the European Parliament, but somehow the British just wouldn't vote for him, would they?
I think that's why, Rory. I'm just giving out my own personal subjective view here. Again, nothing to base it on except what I've ever seen on the screen about him. You know, a working class man who was running a let's say UKIP at its height wouldn't make announcements to the press that he's going to the local pub for a pint. He would just go to the local pub for a pint, and the press might find him there if they came a looking. This is all too artificial for me. I saw, I don't know if this still goes on, but he was doing some kind of TV presentation, and they've got a beer barrel and two seats and a pint of beer. Oh, what the heck is that all about?
It's called Talking Pints with Nigel Farage, and he has a guest on, and they sip a pint. And
right. I'll put one of them on at the local theatre, and we'll do a wee drama comedy. I'll write the script. That's how I see that.
Him being in charge of UKIP and in European Parliament was just the easiest gig ever, wasn't it? What did he do? He took planes to Brussels at our expense, sat round in hotels at our expense, went to the Parliament and said no to everything. That was it. What did he do?
Nothing. I agree with you. This is what I'm saying to
gig
to
of a
Rory.
lifetime. That's why he had that look on his face when we left, because he was out of the easiest job of his life.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why they're all fighting to get over to Europe. Nothing to do with us. It was easy money and a credit card. And I remember seeing a documentary, you know, a lifetime ago when I had a telly, and they showed this place where these MPs go and shop and have fine restaurants, and it's all done on the public purse. Come on. That's part of the problem with Westminster and Edinburgh.
A lot of them, you know, actually want to be there, actually think the European thing works. But he didn't even want that. He just went there to say no to everything. That was his entire thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Packer, he did make a few good speeches in the European. Remember that one? Remember that one where he turns around to the leader and says, "No one's ever heard of you."
Yeah.
Belgium is a non-country. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, he did. He did do a few good speeches, Rory.
Yeah, but let's face it, it's a place that anyone could make a really great speech because there's no consequences to what you're saying. It's just a waste of time, the whole idea of that place. As far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned, there's
yeah.
nothing democratic about it. It's just a big, expensive talking shop where people can get paid off
All right,
without
yeah.
seeming to get paid off. And the real power is all done behind closed doors and those and such as those.
Yeah, for sure, mate. For sure. There's no democracy, yeah. You still
Yeah,
got the big countries bullying the little countries.
exactly. So I'm sorry to say this, Rory. That's something we're definitely will always be in disagreement about Farage. I just see him as a waste of time, a gatekeeper, someone who floats in and out of television land with too much ease, and started with money and probably get even more money now than he had when he started. And he definitely started with money, because if you look, you only have to look at the way he dresses to look at the clothes, the quality of the clothes he wears. Doesn't he buy? He doesn't go shopping in Marks and Spencer.
Well, I was just admiring your hat, John, before you go
Well,
on about Nigel Farage's hats.
yeah, well, you see, I bought this in Spain about 15 years ago. It cost me €5. That's what it cost. €5. And I've had it
I
ever
expect
since.
not. I expect Nigel pays a lot more than that for his hats. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
know
bet
that.
he does.
Never asked him.
Yeah, I'm saving up to buy my next hat. Because I'll never be able to afford to go to Spain to buy another one like this.
Next time in Benidorm, John, I'll post you one over, mate. It'd have to be a flat cap to fit in a fucking envelope.
Exactly. Sorry, Rory, that's just the way I've seen him. Because, like yourself, once you've reached a certain age and you've seen a certain amount, I find these people easy to spot. I really do. Not all the time. Not saying I've got everybody well pegged and properly pegged. I haven't. But he was too obvious for me, and it's a shame because at one point, that party could have made a real difference. And then I don't know who suckered, who was the leader at the time, suckered him into the idea of taking on YouTubers as some kind of step into the future and into the modern era, because they get pasted in real life, these guys. You know who I'm talking about, don't you?
I think that was after his time, actually, John.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't know the chronology, Rory, to be honest with you. But whoever was the leader of UKIP, I mean, they really got suckered there with that idea. And it proved once and for all that doesn't matter how much of a following you've got on here, on these social media platforms, it doesn't translate into the real world. It just doesn't. That was a good exercise to show that. And I thought at the time, people should learn from that. Just because you've got 20,000 subs or something like that, or 30,000 subs, doesn't mean you say you've got 30,000 people that'll politically support you. Because being a subscription to a YouTube channel costs nothing, and it costs nothing in terms of effort and energy. It's the easiest thing to do. So on one level, it's great for the channel. It helps the channel grow and all of that stuff. But in terms of practical effect, it has none.
I subscribe to some left-wing channels.
Well, why not?
It keeps me informed. Also, I like a
Exactly.
laugh.
Yeah, I'm subscribed to Momentum, the hard left channel, and after they do like one of their few-minute videos, they do every few months. And I just love the comments. They don't get many because it's shit, and most people don't look at it like. But the comments of these lefties, and I love leaving comments on Momentum. They're stinking hard left channel. But yeah, so I'm subscribed to a couple of crappy channels myself, like, but keeping an eye on what's going on with the enemy.
Absolutely. And sorry about that delay there, Exiled. Your image was below my screen. I didn't see it till a minute ago. So you're
No
back
problem.
with us.
Well, when 11 o'clock strikes, I have something. I think you might like it. I've got a little amendment here.
Okay. Well,
Glad you brought me in just in time because I was wondering if I was going to get in before 11.
well, you know, that's just my it's 11
Time.
o'clock bell.
Time, gentlemen, please.
Yeah. Well, let me bring on one more thing then before you do your thing, whatever that might be. And I think I watch a lot of these folk in the US, what the black community is saying. I think it's important that we know what they're saying
Yeah, agreed.
because they're not all headbangers. Listen to this guy.
Do today to affect change in our community. Number one, stop supporting rap music. Rap music profits from our destruction. They do nothing but promote negative stereotypes about black people. Number two, stop voting for Democrats.
My favorite.
Democrats have been using black people for the last 60 years. They do nothing but use us for our votes. Number three, if you know a man that's not taking care of his children, call him and let him know that he's a disgusting piece of trash.
Preach.
And he's the reason why, the main reason why, the black community is in the situation that it's in right now. Number four, stop supporting race hustlers like Black Lives Matter. They do nothing but profit from our division. And number five, my favorite, stop looking at white people to fix our problems. Look at black folks to fix the problem because we're the ones in it.
Listen
Five
to this.
things that black people can do today to affect change in our community. Number one, stop supporting rap music. Rap music profits from our destruction. They do nothing but promote negative stereotypes about black people. Number two, stop voting for Democrats.
My favorite.
Democrats have been using black people for the last 60 years. They do nothing but use us for our votes. Number three, if you know a man that's not taking care of his children, call him and let him know that he's a disgusting piece of trash.
Preach.
And he's the reason why, the main reason why, the black community is in the situation that it's in right now. Number four, stop supporting race hustlers like Black Lives Matter. They do nothing but profit from our division. And number five, my favorite, stop looking at white people to fix our problems. Look at black folks to fix the problem because we're the ones in it.
Listen
Five
to this.
things that black people.
There you go, folks. Oh, I never got to say night to censor.
Beyonce has let herself go.
All right.
Has she really? I don't know.
Yeah, there's a few channels like that I listen to Jericho Green and Patricia Dixon, and they're similar channels, you know, smaller channels.
Yeah.
And for a long time, a few years, I've been listening to them. Conservative voices, none of the usual trash which you get from, you know.
Yeah. There's a set of twins that my son put me on to ages ago, and that's what they're called, conservative twins. Black fellas, very successful, and they talk like that. They just say it as it really is, and they're very successful. Brilliant. Absolutely. Whoa.
11 o'clock and all is well.
Right, give us your
There we
thing.
go. There we go.
We're waiting with anticipation.
I did. That was it. I had a tubular bell and I was striking it.
There was my contribution.
Did you hear it? No.
Yes, I heard it.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Exile, be careful. You'll have to get that brass out and start rubbing it down. You might have scratched it now, mate.
It's made of steel. It's a bit of a dent at the end, but it still sounds all right.
Yeah, it sounds fine. It sounds fine.
Oh,
well, my mother used to ring that bell to call us down for dinner when I was a child. Yeah, I still have it.
Yeah.
But let me just state the obvious. I don't want you to feel in any way grieved here, Rory. You look at any political party that's got any size to it, and you will find a variety of types of people in there. You'll get people from the middle class and beyond. You'll get one or two. You'll get middle class folk, and you'll get working class folk, and you'll get prosperous working class folk who often think they're middle class but aren't really. And that's the way a political party should be. It should be a mixture of all of society. But what I've always said is, in order to trust the leader of any party that claims to be for us, the ordinary people, the leader himself needs to come from that, so that you can identify as a member of the party that I know that person, whoever that person might be, comes from nothing and knows what it's like to have nothing.
Yeah, well, John, that's why I mentioned Katie Fanning.
I don't know who that is, Rory.
All right. Okay, she's ex-UKIP, was on the NEC. She's has her own channel and runs an organisation called White International something. But
yeah, Katie Fanning is very impressive. She's studying, I think, law at the moment. Basically, John, she took a university to court for their anti-white views, and she's she can to listen to her speak. She's a great orator. She's very impressive girl. And
White International Rights Alliance, I think, is the name of the organisation.
Yeah, but she's representing herself in throughout the courts, and she was a law student, and she's a lovely looking girl, clever. She's very nationalist minded. She's a real diamond in the nationalist movement. She is Katie Fanning.
Yeah, not only that, John, but she was raped by grooming gangs as a teenager. So she knows what it's like to be in that
the wrong end of it. Yeah, the wrong end of it. Yeah. I'm sorry, Baz. I don't know who it was. And with these shorts, once you show them, they sort of disappear. I'm sorry, I can't give you the man's name. But there's quite a few of these black fellas. If you want to look for them, they're there. Try the Conservative twins, and they are real twins, by the way. And it's quite a big channel. They've got to the point where they've got sponsorship now, believe it or not. And they just say it to the black people as how they see it, and very much like that man there. Why you keep blaming white folks for your troubles when most of the time it's not the white people that are causing the trouble, but the black people?
But that's the elephant in the room that they don't want to address. Everybody knows it's there, but they just don't want to. It's easier to continue grifting and blaming Whitey for everything.
I know.
That's why.
I know. Well, that's why it's good and refreshing when you come across black fellas and black women. There used to be a black lady I watched years ago, and I lost touch with her as well. And she used to do her streaming from her car because she didn't trust anybody around where she worked. And she used to do the same thing. She would just rip right into them and tell them what she thought of them. And I thought that was really refreshing, and that's what's needed over there.
Yeah, there was even I don't even know where the video went, John, but about a year ago there was a black sheriff. He was warning the BLM that if they decide to start rioting in his precinct or wherever it was, they will feel the full force of the police department. So he was not for BLM; he was for upholding the law, and he was telling them if you have differences, grievances, by all means protest peacefully. But the minute you start rioting and causing destruction and chaos, you will feel the full force of my police department. That's what he was warning them. But I don't think the riots happened. I mean, he was a straight talking man, very based.
Did you see the? Sorry, John.
I was just going to read this comment. Ice Age Celtic identity politics has been created to manipulate people, and I totally agree with that. And that's why I advise not to get involved in any discussions with it. In the real world, you should avoid it and stick to policies like I do. I don't allow myself to get drawn into these things. Fortunately, that hasn't quite hit this area yet, but it's going to with the amount of foreigners that we've now got.
Yeah.
Just speaking about riots, did you see the riots in Cardiff last night? It's the first time in years and years I've seen a white riot. It was quite traditional, nostalgic.
What were they rioting about, Stricky?
It was two youngsters. They were flying around on a scooter because I used to live a street away from where the riots happened years ago. And all the kids on the e-scooters, they're flying around, dropping off weed everywhere, and the coppers decided to chase them. But what happened? It's still a little bit unclear. They've either hit the kids or the kids have gone into a bus and they're dead. Right? There's one 17, one 16. But what the coppers done, they announced. There was nothing to do with us. Basically, we came across this collision, but it turned out to be a lie because it was caught on CCTV that there's a cop van chasing these kids on a scooter. Now, I know because I go when I go to Wales, I usually stay on that estate quite a bit, and so they're always flying around on the scooters. And my mate told me ages ago, it's a thing of theirs is to knock the kids off the scooter now, right? And anyway, but the thing was, the kids, right? They're no angels, like, because if they hit somebody, then they're gonna hurt them, like, and they are flying on like crazy. But this time they hit the bus. But yeah, and I heard my mate said he's not sure, but one of them got run over by the cop car afterwards. But what it was, when they said it was nothing to do with the coppers in this, and people knew otherwise. So that's when the riot started. But yeah, it's a tragedy. And at the end of the day, if they were dropping weed to people all around the place, they can easily be picked off with social media. I mean, it don't take you long. You put a bad comment for the coppers to come down. It's easy enough for them coppers to have gone on social media, found out who these kids are. They know who these kids are. So it's different if like they knocked somebody over and they were trying to get away, but they just dropping stuff off. Like, so there's no need for the cop car to go like going through streets 30, 40 mile an hour through small residential streets. So yeah, the truth will all come out obviously in the next few days. But yeah, so when the riots were going on, right, I was watching the channel Based Welshman. I don't know if you know his channel on YouTube, but there was 60 views in the chat when it started about 10 o'clock, I think it was, and then it went up to 27,000 views at midnight. And he got right in the thick of the riot. Some of his footage was used on the TV this morning. I had to go to bed at 12 o'clock. I was knackered. I had to go. But yeah, 27,000 views we went up to from 60. So anyway, yeah, so it's all, yeah, and that's it. Anyway, speaking of that, I got to go bed now, so I got to get up at 6. So it's been a pleasure to be here, and nice to catch up with you all again.
Yeah,
I'll
likewise.
catch up with you later.
Yeah.
Quick question for Streaky.
Yeah, mate.
Before you leave, whereabouts historically were your family from in Wales? Mine was from Crickhowell.
The valleys, South Wales valleys.
Valleys. Mine, yeah, like New Tredegar.
No, sort of in the middle, north of Cardiff.
Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Much like some of mine, we have something in common, Streaky.
Anything. Oh, I like that, my man. Listen, I'll speak to you all later, and bye everyone in the chat. I got to crash out. See you later.
See you later. Bye. Well, I thought I was going to play this one last anyway, so I'll put it on just now and change the subject to something a little bit more calm.
Scotland. This map shows the UK canal network, but if you look closely, you'll see this separate stretch up in Scotland called the Union Canal. We headed up to Scotland and hired a narrowboat from ABC Boat Hire to explore the Scottish waterways. Our 63-foot boat had everything we needed, from a chill-out space, a kitchen, 2 double beds, and even 2 bathrooms. We started our trip at the incredible Falkirk Wheel, the rotating boat lift that you cruise onto and it literally takes you to the start of the Union Canal. We headed towards Edinburgh and was having a great experience manoeuvring a different boat. As full-time liveaboards, we were talking about how renting a boat like this actually gives you a pretty well-rounded experience of what it's like to live on a boat. We spent our holiday enjoying the slow pace of life, connecting with nature, playing games, and making new memories with friends. If you're considering an narrowboat holiday, I would highly recommend ABC Boat Hire. Their boats are perfect, they were so helpful throughout, and they've got boats all over the UK. Did you know there was a stretch of canal up?
Now, this might be an alternative to meeting up in a hotel for people to get together and do this.
In Scotland. This map shows the UK canal network, but if you look closely, you'll see this separate stretch up in Scotland called the Union Canal. We headed up to Scotland and hired a narrowboat from ABC Boat Hire to explore the Scottish waterways. Our 63-foot boat had everything we needed, from a chill-out space, a kitchen, 2 double beds, and even 2 bathrooms. We started our trip.
This is Falkirk, by the way. It's not too far from here.
For the incredible Wheel, the rotating boat lift that you cruise onto and it literally takes you to the start of the Union Canal. We headed towards Edinburgh and was having a great experience manoeuvring a different boat. As full-time liveaboards, we were talking about how renting a boat like this actually gives you a pretty well-rounded experience of what it's like to live on a boat. We spent our holiday enjoying the slow pace of life, connecting with nature, playing games, and making new memories with friends. If you're considering a narrowboat holiday, I would highly recommend ABC Boat Hire. Their boats are perfect, they were so helpful throughout, and they've got boats all over the UK. Did you know there was...
Well, Packer,
Well, that rotating back boat lift. What an amazing piece of engineering.
Yeah. Well, you realise, of course, that wasn't us that made that.
Oh, you mean?
No,
of course not. No, the immigrants. Yeah.
Packer, you were the first there to get that.
Yeah, well, the continent of Africa is renowned for being riddled with canals, isn't it?
Exactly. And engineering.
Called the Falkirk Wheel. I've seen it rotating before. It takes quite a while, but it's interesting. It is a marvelous feat of engineering.
I'm just saying, if a group of us ever wanted to get together and do something slightly different, there's a good possibility.
I wouldn't mind it now. My parents took me on 2 canal boat holidays when I was a kid, and I hated it.
Did you really?
Yeah, well, I was only like 9 or 10 years old, and 40-foot of boat to run around on is not enough.
Yeah, of course.
I've never been on a canal boat. There are
We went over that viaduct in Wales. Where's Streaky when you want him?
Yeah, there are canals around where I live, and I occasionally see these boat rallies that people bring in all the old vintage canal boats, beautifully restored. And I've never stepped on one, and people are going on and off, seeing the inside because they are open like a gala day.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out there as an idea, folks, as something slightly different. Obviously, it's away from the madding crowds to begin with. And being that kind of transport, we could easily moor the things anywhere we like and sit and chat for a while and do anything we like. I just thought it was a nice idea. Depends on money, of course, but it might be something worth considering for the future.
There is a plan B, John. It's crazy, but I could suggest it anyway. People, you could come use my living room. It's quite a big one. Can all gather in here and have a good time. just joking, but it's a possibility. I wouldn't say no to some familiar faces, although I only know your face.
Well, you know Pacus, and you have seen.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Just to open up the mind, and then there's the Caledonia Canal, of course. There is that, and that's something else again. That's
I was a bit surprised. I was a bit surprised that the Scottish canals are not linked to the English canals, because I thought you could travel literally from here all the way down to England and to the continent.
Well, perhaps at one time, but as far as I can tell, the Caledonia Canal was to link east coast and west coast of Scotland. That was its primary function, which it did. Still does.
The reason why a lot of the canals were dredged, they were basically filled in, was when the railway appeared in the early 1800s, canals were now obsolete, so houses and streets were built on top. So I guess that contributed to the severing of the link from north to south.
Yeah.
Well, you'd also have to build your canal through Hadrian's Wall. That might have been difficult.
Did we not have to get permission from the Italians for
that? Just build a Falkirk wheel over the wall. That way the wall doesn't get damaged.
There you go.
There you
go. So anyway, folks, are you all going to be taking up the initiative? Or am I going to put you on the spot if I ask you that question? Packer.
Packy.
What Woodlanders you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm up for that.
I have shortened it already to the initiative, because there only is the one initiative at the moment.
Yeah, I'll be banging him as much as I can.
My understanding, please correct me. What about you, Rory? Are you all for this initiative?
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely in for it. Yeah, wouldn't it came? Excuse me. He came out of my house a couple of years ago. We were talking about purchasing land together. Nothing actually came of it, but this new initiative of his, I'm definitely supporting that.
Okay. Exiled?
Oh, absolutely. I'm all for it. If it's a success, then it could be spreading potentially. So yeah, I'm all for that.
Well, my understanding is it would be an ongoing initiative. In other words, there would be no real end to it so long as people keep putting money in and the initiative keeps buying land. Why would it stop?
Yep. I think it will be a success. Once it gets moving and people see that it's a success, they'll be more inclined to put money into it, and then it will start spreading. That would be the ideal.
Yeah. As I say, the only real problem that is all the legal beagle stuff. Once all of that has been attended to and it's obvious that it's not a racket, then it should be supported. I'm not clear on the money side anymore. I had a clear understanding that he was talking about 100 people becoming members, and each member would put in £1,000, and that could be achieved over 2 years. And when I worked that out, it was roughly, a £10 a week if you were doing it that way. But the impression I've got tonight is slightly different. Or is that your impression, Parker? You're giving me a different
No,
impression.
I think he was just giving that as an example of what could be achieved. I think you'd be a mug not to take whatever money, however, that you could get. Would you not? You want to go as fast as possible. I mean, if I'll put in a tenner a week, Rory can put in £1,000 a week, and everything will be hunky dory.
Yeah. In fact, Rory could put in my 1,000. Him being a landed gentry.
I won't charge you any usury, John. That's for sure.
Oh, I'm sure you won't. I'm sure you won't. And that's the other side of it. Let's talk a little bit about that before we wind the stream up. The other side of it is we could also use some of this money to get our folk into businesses. Not necessarily businesses that are connected to the land per se, but just businesses, and help to start that parallel economy.
Well, that's what he's been talking about. People can build their little huts, start their own businesses, just grow crops, trade the crops they grow for other things they need, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, again, I would take that further and say, well, if it was organised properly, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be organised properly, and they wouldn't be alone, because I know it's already done, is you can then build up an order service where you send stuff out by courier to your customers who are buying a whole parcel load of crops and eggs and stuff. Because I think if that side were a bit more organised, then there wouldn't be duplications. Like he says that he's got about 100 chickens and he's got ducks and all sorts of things. But if everybody did that, we'd end up with too many eggs to sell, Or am I not making sense?
I see what you're saying. I think he might struggle because he wants to be diplomatic about what we do with the land. And everybody's going to have different ideas.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm interested in. How is that going to be resolved? How is that? Who's going to make a decision about? We can only buy a land that becomes available. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Well, I think it'll be down to the membership, John.
But you can't ask 700 people or 100 people to make a choice and expect to get the same answer from the 100 people. You've got to get all sorts of answers.
But you can have a consensus of opinion.
Right.
Let's say the majority of members, for instance, say, right,
okay,
this is okay. I mean, if somebody wanted to build a skate park or something, well, then we're like, no, we really don't want that. I think the main thing about it is for the benefit of the members.
Yeah. And obviously, it would be a sensible idea to leave some of this land fallow for the likes of camping and just a day out, say, for picnicking if it's possible, depending on where you live, where the land is, where you could go and not get bothered and know you wouldn't get bothered. But there will be other people who want to copy what Woodlander has, to be sort of self-sufficient. There will be people like that who will come in on it. And that's what not worry about, but I'm concerned about how do we overcome this priority thing to begin with?
I don't know. I think you might have to, on that, you might have to go the route of if overall we buy enough land, he could then rent it out to certain individuals who then pay extra to live on it. If you know what I mean. If that's
Yeah,
what they
yeah.
want to do. I'm quite happy to do what big corporations are doing and plant trees on it to offset my carbon footprint. Let's play their game.
Why not?
That's how they're going to stiff us, isn't it?
Yeah,
You can't drive your car because you ain't offsetting your carbon footprint. You've ate too much meat this week. You can't go anywhere.
We know all this is just nonsense. I mean, it's just a bloody lie.
Oh yeah, I know it's nonsense, but that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I know.
So Packer's right about that. They're doing already, and there were tax advantages.
Yeah, I mean, if
They're
we
doing exactly that, and you're absolutely right, Packer. Yeah, it will come to your carbon footprint card or whatever you get, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're buying some woodland, you know.
I mean, if we plant trees on it and it's woodland, we can still use it. We can still, you know, go for walks, go camping, whatever. Enjoy the countryside.
Yeah, exactly.
And the more land we buy, the more choices we have.
Yeah, yeah. And unlike if we try and farm it, they can't stiff us. If we try and farm it, they'll try and stiff us like they stiff farmers with bird flu and all the rest of it. Because that's what they do, isn't it? They told Woodlander he was going to have to get all his birds inside, otherwise they was going to, you know, if one gets the flu, they'll come and kill them all.
Oh yes, yeah, he's had to put up.
If we do what they're doing and just grow trees on it, they can't stiff us without stiffing themselves.
Yeah. Bass is saying a board of chosen elders could be the best choice, like the old days before governments. Yeah, I can see that working. Yeah, which is more of a tribal arrangement, which is not unknown to us, like the clan system, I suppose, in a way. You have these experienced people who are officially in charge and make decisions on what's going to happen. I can see that working. Yeah, absolutely. But I like the idea of different pieces of land being set aside, possibly for different uses, apart from growing trees and avoiding that nonsense. But you're right, it may come down to that. It might be that simple.
I mean, the other issue he's going to find is that all these plots of land, he's on about spreading them all out, which is fair enough, so that, you know, we've all got access to something. But are you going to have access to the bit of land that you want that's being used for what you want, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right.
I think, as I say, I don't think the detail has been fully realised yet. I think we need to wait until he gets his website up and running, and that'll happen shortly, I expect. And then we'll have more information about how he sees the practical side of this, let's call it. The getting the people together, getting the money organised, and deciding about land and finding out about land. Because I'm going to make the bold assumption that most of us don't know anything about land. I know I don't know anything about land. Now, how would you recognise a good bit of land away, from a bad bit of land? And what constitutes a bad bit of land or a good one?
Well, it depends what you're looking for, John. You know,
Yeah.
Tell you something.
There is good arable land and there's bad arable land.
Yeah.
You know, so obviously the good is more expensive than the bad. But you know, if you just want to put your horses on it or whatever, It doesn't need to be great arable land. If you want to camp on it, it doesn't have to be great arable land. But yeah, if you want to maximize your crop, then yes, you do want to do that.
Steve said, so long as it's not underwater.
Well, it's always a risk in some parts of the country.
Well, you can always get the seashells to eat. But no, there's all sorts of possibilities, and that's why I say it should open up everyone's imagination as to the possibilities that this could bring us. And then
she sells seashells on the seashore. I can't believe I said that.
I was thinking of that, Rory, but I wasn't going to be the first one to say it. She sells seashells on the seashore. There's a way to say it, and you can actually carry it off without getting tongue-tied. Sort of swing it a little. She sells seashells on this seashore. Yeah, there you go.
So, everyone's in favour. Well, that's good. I'm pleased to hear it. I was quite surprised last week when he said on here that he had over 700 people inquiring already. I thought that was brilliant response. But it is an idea that's been around a long time, so I do hope it comes to something. And the way I was working it in my imagination, I was taking the same amount of land that he's got, and I was using the 5 acre thing and saying, well, what could you do with 5 acres? Obviously, you could do a lot. But even on 5 acres, I think it, depending on the lay of the land, obviously, you could actually have 2 woodlanders on 5 acres if they were well separated. If you see what I'm saying.
Well, I think he has 2 acres of woodland, doesn't he?
I thought he said 5. I thought it said 5.
No, I think it's 2.
That'd be about 2 football pitches if it's 2 acres, roughly about that size.
Well, again, I was trying to imagine what is an acre.
Size of a football pitch. I mean, it's still quite large. So if you have 5 acres, well, that's quite extensive space you've got there.
Absolutely. And if you could buy this land close to each other, would be even better. But that might not work out that way. Probably won't work out that way.
Maybe I'll get some with a seashore next to it, so that somebody can sell shells on the seashore. I'm still got that in my head.
Yeah, come up here and buy beautiful Lundison Bay. That'd be nice. That's right next to the Stuart.
You're not going to forget the seashells now, are you?
No, I'm not. It's stuck in my head now.
Coquilles St. Jacques.
During the 1930s, believe it or not, there was a canvas town in Lundison Bay, which is not very far from where I live, where people who had been evicted were living and lived there for quite a while. Apparently it was some site, and it's quite a sizable piece of land. It's right next to Sir Guy Shaw Stewart's estate, the guy that used to own all of this, including Greenock, Port Black, well, all of Inverclyde, really. Yeah. So no, that's good. I'm glad that it seems to have gone down so well. I wish I'd got that response, but I understand why I didn't. That's quite obvious. And I'm interested to to put over the idea, and this is where I agree with Sensor. People who are thinking politically should not be saying to themselves, I'm not going to join that party because he's an old man, and anything else like that should be nothing to do with personality. It should be to do with the politics itself. And it should be the same with John Lawrence. And it might be an idea to go and have a look at some point and see if he's got anything advertised. My only thing about John is that he's well written up in the hope not hate rosters. His name appears regularly in there. I don't know whether it should bother me, but it does. Any comments on that?
Well, it's a badge of honour if they don't like you, isn't it?
It can be a badge of honour, Parker, but at the same time, it can cause difficulties once you're starting to do anything. You can run into difficulties with it.
Well, they're going to find you if you get big enough. They will find you.
Oh yeah, obviously.
So, go happen to anyone.
There's Steve giving us John Lawrence political website address, which is great. Let me see. Save as. I'm saving this, you see, so I can go and look at it. Not right now, but later. Oh, where's that? Where is it? Oh, there it is. It'll not let me do it. Never mind. I'll do it later. I think it's important that we see what his, or it's important to me that I see what his policies are. They may be similar to my own party's policies. Who knows? Who's this? I don't know that name. This is a new name here. Evening to you, sir. Somebody knows you, Pat. Do you know him? Do you know it? Yeah. Well, he must obviously know you because he's saying you're looking serious.
I always look this happy.
Perfect poker face, Packer. Gives nothing away.
I was never any good at poker.
Were you not?
No.
Surprised at that. I say that because you've got the ability to be poker faced, which is
resting bitch face, they call it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Steve's advising me that he's a good guy. I only draw attention to it because it's a new name to me. I'm not saying that, it's new name anywhere, but it's new here. But that wouldn't be hard. Oh, Rory's back. Right, Rory, we're going to go a little bit longer before I finally wind up. So has he intimated at all how much longer for the website? Or is that as long as a bit of string is?
Yeah. Oh, I think it's probably planned for the next couple of weeks, I guess. I haven't spoken to him personally about it. Yeah, I think he's moving. He's said in his last stream, he's moving forward fairly quickly with it.
That's good. That's good. I'm looking forward to reading the details And I've got some kind of appreciation, as I'm sure we all have, the amount of work that he's already put into this. Because it isn't easy to do, to set these things up from nowhere. A lot of time goes into it. So I give him that for a starter. And I like the idea. And I'm really hoping that this doesn't fall away into nothing. That would be terrible.
I don't think he'll do that, John. Not for 1 minute.
No, I don't think so either, Rory, to be honest. I've got a feeling that this is going to come to something, even if it is only one piece of land. I think it'll at least do that much, if not more. And as I say, I'm hoping that people in general, once they see each step coming into reality, that will increase the confidence in the initiative and therefore have its own internal momentum. Because of that, people will be encouraged when they see that each step is being made good. I think that's the way I see it happening. There will be people who will hold back until they see results of some kind, and then they'll hop on. That's why I think it should be, and it will be, an ongoing thing once it's up and running. There'll be no end to it if it runs as smoothly as we all hope it does. Time will tell, my friends. Time will tell. And I'm hoping to have some announcements myself soon. But mine are all political, of course. But I hope important to me. I hope it becomes important to you, all of you. Because I see a need even more now for local politics because of this initiative. It'd be an ideal way to go about it. We buy a bit of land somewhere and then we target that town for election times and try and get some control on the council from party members. And that will grow confidence as well if we can manage to pull that off. Because having a friendly face on the inside will definitely not do us any harm. Don't you think?
Yeah, it might be an idea to target land near, places where those people that want to do that are, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's lots of the country that are not covered by anyone as far as the politics is concerned. It might be, you're back to, depends on the setup, like was suggested earlier, elder type things, 5 people or so who make the final decisions on how the money's used and which land is bought. But that to me was an immediate tie-up that I saw. Well, wouldn't do any harm if we controlled that council, or at least had one member on that council. And each would support the other. And it would give our people a lot more confidence in what we are all trying to do. Because I think that is an element that's missing at the moment. I don't know if you guys would agree with me. There's an element of lack of confidence in my own political party because we don't have anybody in anywhere and we're only starting out, and in a sense we're still untried. But the longer that goes on, the party exists, the longer the party exists, I would like to think that the confidence in that party existing will grow, and that in itself hopefully will encourage people to join. And if we have this open relationship with the initiative, then it'll cross-fertilize each thing that's going on.
Yeah.
And if John
Yes,
comes in, that means it's another part of the country. He's operating out of the east of England someplace. Where was it they used to make Oldham? I think it's Oldham. That area is where he is. I told them Oldham. You remember the battery advert? No.
The what?
I told them Oldham used to be the slogan for this battery
I don't remember.
advert. Yeah, and it was made in that town. That was a slogan. Oh, I'm too old for you guys.
I hate to be negative, John, but
Carry on.
when you look at the results in the local elections in England and the minuscule amount of votes that went to nationalist or even independent parties, I'm afraid, I can't see a future in that somehow.
Well, let me say right away is, I don't know what platform they stood on. If they stood on a platform of identity politics, then I'm not surprised they got obliterated. My personal view, not only as the leader of my own party, but as an individual, is any of us standing for elections in the local level must avoid identity politics and stick with local issues. And that's what I did. I stuck with a couple of local issues which were important to the people around here. And one of them was very simple, was the idea that the council had just recently, a couple of years back, put an extra charge on garbage collection from the garden. This is an extra charge. And that was one of my campaign points, was to abolish that because we already pay a tax, was my argument. That's a local issue.
Yeah, they do that round here, and I can't quite fathom that out because they either compost it themselves or sell it on, or sell it on to someone that composts it to sell it on. So why are we paying them to do that?
This was my argument. To me, I was saying it was nothing than a tax. I'm going to take it that was Exile's house.
Yeah, that was me.
That was you. I thought it was. And the other one that I stood on was the tax that they had secretly brought in on gravestones. And when I looked into that, I discovered that it's been sliding everywhere. This idea, if you change the details on a gravestone, you've got to pay there's an extra tax you've got to pay. It's up to over 100. It's £150 now.
What, like add a name to it?
Yeah.
Christ on a bike.
Yeah, and I discovered that a long time ago simply because my mother got into her head she wanted a new stone from my father's grave, and that's how I ran into it in dealing with that. We paid £30 at that point, and it's up to 150 now.
But why should that be up to the council? I mean, shouldn't the graveyard say,
well, the grave
it's going to cost you that?
Well, that's not my argument. My argument is when my father died, my mother bought a piece of land 6 foot roughly by 3 foot roughly to act as a grave. That belongs to her. I have a title deeds for that. That's bought for. She had to pay a stonemason for a stone and then pay the man to carve my father's name and all that into it. So that's private as well. It's got nothing to do with the council.
So how can the council charge tax on that?
Because when you find out you're at your lowest ebb, someone you love dearly has just died and you're now dealing with it. Now you're not in any state of mind to be making an argument about why you shouldn't pay it.
My point was, John, I mean, what right on earth do they have to do that?
None. They just do it and assume they're not going to have any resistance to it. The only reason that I made particular attention to it is because my mother and myself were not in any grieving situation. My father was dead about 50 years, right? So we're well over that grieving point. So I'm in a perfectly clear state of mind when I came across it. But most people will not know about it until they're grieving and until they're dealing with the funeral. You're not in any fit state to be arguing with anyone at that point. You're just going to pay the money. And half the time, you're not even going to realize this is a tax. And they use the stonemason to collect it because the stonemason told me all this because I was not grieving when I dealt with him. If he doesn't collect this money, he doesn't get his license to do his job in the local cemeteries. That's the pressure
right, okay,
him.
all right.
So he becomes a tax collector.
Yeah, and presumably you pay VAT on top of that as well.
Well, of course. Of course.
Crazy.
Well, it's criminal as far as I was concerned. But that's how I found out about it. And I'm glad I found out about it was when I was not in a mourning state of mind, as most people will be.
I wonder if the Muslims have to pay that tax.
I don't know any Muslims to ask them.
Well, neither do I, John, but they'd be up in arms against it if they had to pay it.
Well, I can tell you that's what they did here, and I know that goes on throughout Scotland because it's one of these things that was done on the council level behind closed doors. In fact, I've spoken to people who don't believe me. They don't believe me.
Well, that's kind of why I raised the point, John, and asked you about it, because I thought this is so evil, I could hardly believe it either.
Yeah, well, it's true. It's true. If you make any changes to a stone, a gravestone, then you're going to come across this. Because I said to my mother, half jokingly, but only half jokingly, why don't I get my name put on the stone at the same time with all the details? And the only thing you'll need to do then is put the date of when I die in it. Oh, she wouldn't have that, of course. Because there'll be another charge when I die. And my son puts me in with my father. There's going to be another charge when my details go on that stone.
The other thing I find with gravestones, John, is that if you go back 200 years, they are they're huge and beautiful, and you know, most of them are works of art. These days, you know, you're lucky to get one about, I don't know, 2 foot high and a foot wide, and people were poorer, generally speaking, I think, back then than we are now. Not sure about that one, but it's the cost of it is crazy. Maybe it is the tax after all.
I don't. I think my mother paid a small amount, but to her it would be a lot of money when my father died. Obviously, it's always a lot of money when someone dies. I know we paid a couple of hundred for the new stone, but the new stone was bought partly because the other one was up. It's been up for, well, my father died not a long time, so it was. Well, the new one can take my details and my son's details. We bought it big enough. I bought it big enough so it would be able to do that. So there wouldn't need to be another stone bought. But there'll be this charge when I die that when my information goes on the stone, whatever it will be then, it's presently 150. But it'll go up every year as it has done since they brought it in. And that was one of my other policies. It was those two things, the gravestone tax, as I called it, and the bin collection tax, as I called it, which they both are taxes. I don't care what the council call it. And that helped because it kept me away from my identity politics. Although sometimes people, the public, would bring it up, but I certainly wouldn't do it. So it's a long way to answer your question here, Parker, about what other nationalists did. My advice would be not to stand on a platform of identity politics because you'll lose. And if you stand in a place that's really been hurt by illegal aliens, there won't be enough of us to vote you in.
Yeah.
There's your problem there. Let me answer Julia here. Julia is asking, did Jory Kay contact me? No, she hasn't contacted me at all. And as you know, Julia, Rory has already tried. It seems obvious to me that she doesn't want to come on the channel.
John, I'm not sure that's quite true. When I wrote to her, she
Well, I
said
hope
she'd
not.
like to. So,
Well, I hope not.
I'll get him back in touch with her.
Well, I hope
Okay.
not. I hope I'm wrong. I do. I do hope I'm wrong. I'm sure she's very busy, though. I mean, she's very much in demand, is she not?
Yes, she is. I just want to look up whether I can find it.
Well, Julia has
She
spoken
said,
to
here
her.
we go. She said, I said, hello, Jodie, did you get an email from John Davidson about appearing on his channel? He's an author and musician, so it could be an interesting opinion. She sent me a voice message.
Ah.
Don't know whether, can you hear that?
Yeah. No. No, can't hear it, Rory. I'll take your word for it. It's not. I'm not doubting anyone's word here. Julia's saying the same thing. She answered me and said she'd love to. But as I say, I always got the impression she was rather a busy lady.
No. Anyway, yeah, I then sent, I sent you your email address. Obviously, she hasn't replied to that one. I'll get back to it, John. Don't worry.
Okay. It'd be nice. All right, guys, it's 12 o'clock, so it's definitely time to bring in the outro and let you finish up here.
12 o'clock, time for a glass of port.
Oh, no. I'm trying to reacquire my old youthful habit of reading in bed, so I will not be drinking port.
Well, John, thank you so much for having me on once again.
Oh, no problem, Rory. No problem. Nice to have you on. Yeah, you too. Enjoy your port.
Thank you. It's only a small, well, actually, no, it's not. It's a large glass, but never mind. Right. Okay.
As well.
Exactly.
And thank you for coming on, Exiled and Streaky Bacon and Parker. Thank you all for coming on. It's supposed to be me that does that. Right, I'll take you out of the live stream and I'll finish up here, guys.
Nice one. Cheers, everybody.
Yeah, thanks once again, Parker, for coming on. It's always nice to speak. And we're down to, maybe down to, that's Exile. Thought I had him off. Is it not? Yeah. There he is, he's off. Right, folks. A wee bit longer tonight, but no harm done in that. And I enjoyed the conversation as always. Interesting thoughts, and we'll see how the initiative unwinds itself. And I'll be back on Thursday, and I'll look out for a suitable passage in this book to read you. I will not read, obviously, the whole book, but I'll read a passage, and that'll be interesting. So, until Thursday evening, 9 o'clock, as always, as I always like to say, adios, au revoir, cheerio, and until Thursday evening, 9 o'clock, take care, look after yourself, and thanks for coming here, and thanks to the moderators. Bye just now. Enjoy the music.
Silently the snow falls, paints a winter scene.
The movie is The Wanderers.
Swiftly spreads the dark rim, hides the fading autumn green. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, conjure friendships dear to me. Lightly now the breeze flows, disturbing more than just the leaves. But life's much more.
The film is The Wanderers.
We can know we are one small glow in the eternal flow. Patiently the love grows, lifts the weary heart. Gently now she holds me, melts two worlds once apart. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, usher dreams of you and me. Softly then the breeze blows, disturbing more than just the trees.
All together now.
But love's much more.
So much more
than we can know.
Than we can ever possibly know.
We are one small glow,
but an important glow
in the eternal flow. Melodies of long ago, songs of innocence, harmonies to soothe the soul, past the consequence. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, awakening joys of you and me. Silently the snow falls, bringing winter symphony.
All together now.
But we're much more than we can know.
Than we can ever possibly know.
We are one small glow,
an important glow
in the eternal flow. But life's much more than we can know. We are one small glow in the eternal flow.
So you take care, my friends, and I'll see you all soon. Enjoy any weather that comes your way. Bye for now. Take care.